5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Good morning, Misfits. I think we're live. Looks live. It says live. We are live. There we go. I see a chat. When I don't see anybody in the chat, I'm like, did I mess it up? Because I just have a fucking problem with anything technology. It is the bane of my existence. Speaking of technology, we have the new setup. Everything should be working, but will it? Who fucking knows? All right. So, very, very short intro today because we are going to be bringing you a guest. Yesterday, I spoke with this person, and it was just such an interesting conversation. I was like, we have to get you on the show so we can literally do this over again. We talked about a lot of insightful things, and I'm going to just introduce her right now. No further ado. This is the TPUSA, Elon University, I believe, chapter president, Mia Charbet, I believe?
Yes.
Charbet,
Yeah.
okay. All right, it says your levels are good. I'm so bad with technology, Mia. I really am. It's the worst. So I was doing the video things that I was like trying to mess with before, but I forgot to check your sound. So go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'll just play with it if it's a little too loud.
Yeah, so I'm Mia. I'm the president of Turning Point USA, the chapter at Elon University. We only recently started this chapter, and so really it's just we're still in the process of trying to make it official with the school, but it's an official chapter with Turning Point.
Well, I hope they don't get mad at you for talking to me because I have a potty mouth. I am a very potty mouth person, and I know that the TPUSA. I'm just kidding. I don't think they'll care, but I do get into a lot of drama on the internet. But I did want to have a conversation with you because you sent me over this. I would say it's bullet points, you could call it. Let's put this up on the screen. We got the how to save America is, I believe, how you put it. Why is that not popping up? We'll get this up in one sec. Always technical difficulties, Mia. Every single show. No, that is not an exaggeration. Every show I have some type of technical difficulty. It's the unofficial name of the TMP Uncensored podcast, but we are all fixed up. I have it on the screen, and I wanted to run through it with you. So the topics that I think we should talk about today is pretty much what we talked about yesterday. So we have healing the culture. I'm going to pull this up larger so I can read it. All right, healing the culture and the left's contradiction. Conspiracy theories on the right. Have we lost our moral compass? The craving for belonging. A deeper question. And how radicalism dominates the left today. So let's start off with healing the culture and the left's contradictions.
Yeah. I think a huge thing is how the left, at least the way I've seen it and the way I started to question it, was how the left claims to be progressive, which the idea of that makes you think that they're open-minded and actually, claims to be wanting the best for people. But then I think we're seeing how, at the same time, if you have a different opinion, they suddenly shut you down. So it feels like there's a lot of contradiction in that area of, we're open-minded, but if you're a conservative, then I don't want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, the party of tolerance, right? They just don't tolerate anything that they disagree with, right? So they tolerate each other, but they don't tolerate any outsiders. And that's where I think the left had a stranglehold on cancel culture and shutting down opposition. And I see the right flirting with it. We'll get into that because I want to stay on this topic. But I think that there's a lot of irony in the term progressivism because we spoke about this yesterday. If you have a horrible idea and you progress that idea to its fullest potential, right? Is it progress, or like
Yeah.
how, what do they want to progress, how, and
Yeah.
if it does progress, is it a good thing? That's the question. So what I suggested was, a better way to view, if you want to call it progress, or moving forward, is to speak about it more like building as opposed to progressing. So you want to build on an idea, make it better, and make it great, not just progress for progress's sake.
Yeah. I think also a huge thing I notice is how we started to get to a point, I guess, with mental illness and things, where it was like, we need to recognize the pain. And I think that's important, but as with everything, we kind of go to the other extreme. And so we went from recognizing the pain to staying in the pain and obsessing about it. And
Yeah.
like, yeah, just identifying almost
Well,
with your
that's
struggles.
that's a good point. You see, what I see people doing, what I've seen the left do for years, maybe even decades, is play identity politics with a victimhood mentality. This is where the term woke left came from, right? Woke
Mhm.
is essentially just a term that is used to say we are awake. And you have to ask yourself, what are they awake to? Where did it come from? Where did it start? It started with this black community in the 90s that was awake to the oppressor of the white man. Right? So
Yeah.
there's a identity, it's an identitarian ideology where there is an oppressor keeping them down, and they have to fight back against it because now, just now, they have recognized it. We are awake, we are noticing, we are woke, right?
Yeah.
So the identity politics is now, like I said, we're going to be getting into it deeper, but it's becoming more of a victim mentality where you're not progressing towards any actual solution for your problem. You're just blaming other people for the problem.
Yeah, and I think a huge thing of the victimhood mentality is not only that it's easier temporarily, which kind of I think is what drives people towards it, is this, it feels like protection, like it's protecting you from having to face the root of your problems, from having to address them head on. But I think in a way it causes a vicious cycle because once you start getting into the victimhood mentality, you start to almost hand over your power to society in the way that everything becomes reliant upon how others treat you. So it's all about how others behave that's going to influence how you feel. And suddenly you don't have a lot of power in your own happiness.
And why do you think that I would say the left, the Democrat Party, pushes social programs so much, right? Because what they're doing is they are creating a system where the people are feeling like they need help because they are oppressed. And who's going to solve their problems? Well, the government, right? So if you create the paranoia, the panic, the woke ideology where people are always blaming everybody else for their problems, if you give somebody a boogeyman, right, and then say I can stop the boogeyman, right, then people are going to sign on to your ideology, and they're going to surrender power to you instead of, like we said, fixing your own problems. Like, in my worldview, where I think that this was, Charlie Kirk's worldview is, nobody is responsible for you but you. You are the person that is going to fix your problems. I want a government so small that I don't know it exists, a federal government. And I think that the left has dominated that culture of victim mentality. But I do not like I don't like seeing the identity politics and a victim mentality being flirted with on the right. But let's go into that. Conspiracy theories on the right is our next topic. Candace Owens and similar examples. Are we putting our energy in the wrong direction?
Yeah, I think again, like the thing is, when you get to the extreme left and the extreme right, and we spoke about this a little bit yesterday, it ends up being the same thing. The difference is, I think, today, the conservative movement, if you're actually an extremist within the conservative movement, you're not dominating the conservative movement
Mm-hmm.
today. Whilst on the left, I think it has become such a radical movement, and is so prevalent within that within that party politically and socially. So I think on the right, we're definitely seeing some of that. And when we do, it's important that we recognize it so that we don't allow it to continue, because that's the difference, I think. And we need to, yeah.
I see a mass. I always say I do have hope for the conservative movement, the MAGA movement, the right in general, because of the pushback I've been seeing from this rise in identity politics and what have you. But one thing that we know for sure is the left did not call it out, right? The left did not. The left leaned into it, right? I mean, who's the leader of the Democrat Party right now? I think most people would say AOC, right? And she is a radical, just socialist. So let's say we define woke left as radical socialists. I know it's deeper than that, but let's just for the argument's sake. And let's say we define the woke right as radical nationalists, right? If we start leaning in to this identity politic, victim mentality, woke, blah, 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 on the right, and we don't call it out, then what happens is somebody like an AOC that rose in the Democrat Party, where the majority of people, I don't care who you are, I live in the real world. The majority of people are not extreme. They are moderate. 90, not 90, but a vast majority of people are more moderate than not. So if you lean into the extremism, you got an AOC on the right, you're gonna get like a Nick Fuentes on the left. And, or sorry, vice versa. You know what I meant. AOC on the left, you're going to get a Nick Fuentes on the right. And what will happen is the exact same thing that happened to the Democrats in 2024. People will reject it and they will vote against it. So as far as just a politically advantageous move, rejecting this type of extremism is just a smart political play. So if you want to save America, you save your party's political systems because you think your policies are going to be what's best for the country. You reject the extremism so that you don't end up with them overtaking the party. It sounds simple.
I think also we see that on the left, I think it's really built off, as you said, not most of them are not extremists. A lot of them are moderate, but they're adapting extremist ideologies.
Yeah,
Because
because they're
really,
held hostage.
yes, and I think that's why it's built off of people who are either vulnerable or ignorant, and that's really what the foundation is built off of.
Yeah, so we need to be smarter than that. But let's get to the conspiracy theories, okay? You are a TPUSA president, and I'm sure that you looked up to Charlie Kirk. You're
Yes.
seeing now Candace Owens and others, by the way. You know, I just saw on the Sean Ryan show, he was saying stuff like, oh, I have so many questions. How did you break down that rifle? I don't know if you've seen behind me. There's a couple of guns. I'm a very big gun guy. I'm a gun advocate. It takes 30 seconds or less to break down the rifle from Tyler Robinson. But there's not even any evidence that he actually broke it down. In fact, the FBI, I believe, came out and said that there's nothing in any official public record of that. But what's happening is people are creating conspiracy theories because it's become sort of this culture online of getting clicks and sensationalism and building these little conspiracy cults. I've always been anti-conspiracy theory because of what, not because there is not a possibility that somebody's right, and you shouldn't ask questions and you shouldn't think critically. I think critically. I think a lot of people do. But when you dive into the culture world of conspiracy theories, everything's a conspiracy theory. And it ends up creating a paranoid society that believes that there's always somebody out there to get them. They live in this fake reality. And if you start living in fake reality, then you're not living in real reality and you're not focusing on real problems. So as far as Candace Owens has blamed a B cult for Charlie's death. She's blamed TPUSA. She's blamed Donald Trump. She's blamed Israel. She's blaming everybody, it seems, except for Tyler Robinson. In fact, she said recently in an interview on CNN that Tyler Robinson did not kill Charlie Kirk. So do you think this is helpful?
No, and I think this is, as you were saying, as you were describing how it starts to become into where you're living in an outside of reality, you're living in a fantasy, and where suddenly everyone is out to get you, that goes back to the victimhood mentality. So again, very similar to the left. So we want to make sure we don't adopt that
Well,
because that's the difference.
think about the lead, like Donald Trump's first term. He's a Russian agent, right?
Mhm.
Donald Trump is 6'3" or 4". He's orange. He's not exactly a good spy. But Donald Trump is a Russian agent. They raided Mar-a-Lago. Like they made Donald Trump a boogeyman, and they pushed a bunch of conspiracies about Trump, and it created a paranoid culture of people that believed them. And then the guy almost gets assassinated. Twice they tried to kill him, and what I think happens is when you create the paranoid culture on the left by creating those conspiracy theories, then calling and using charged language like Nazi and what have you. If Donald Trump is Hitler and Charlie Kirk is his, general, then why wouldn't you kill Charlie Kirk? So what I think that Candace is doing is not only extremely dangerous, because she's drumming up this theory that certain people did certain things and not actually using critical thinking, to where one of her followers, by the way, one of her followers actually was involved in a school shooting and said he was inspired by Candace Owens. But also, it's the degradation of society. We're dumber if we're not actually using our brains, and if we're listening to just some crazy podcaster.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Which actually brings us into our. I'm sorry to interrupt. Brings us
no,
into
no,
our
no.
next slide. Is have we lost our moral compass?
Yeah, so I think definitely that's a huge thing. I think a lot of people felt, especially after Charlie Kirk's assassination, that when they would speak to people on the left that were celebrating his death, and they would ask him why, well, they would ask people celebrating his death why they're celebrating his death. They
Mm-hmm.
would give answers like, well, he was a fascist and he believed this and this and this. And they turn around and they're like, well, I believe the same things. So, and it suddenly, I think that's where we have gotten to this point
Yeah.
where we're realizing there's a serious problem within our culture. Um, like a huge evil where a lot of people like, is it okay to just kill people that you disagree with?
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. And unfortunately, there are people that believe that it's absolutely okay to.
yeah.
Because look, if you really truly believe that Charlie Kirk was like a fascist, then why wouldn't you kill him, right? If you
Yeah.
truly believe that, why wouldn't you? You'd be doing something good for the world, right? And obviously, obviously he wasn't. He was the They took out the moderate, because
Mhm.
Charlie was definitely more of the reasonable moderate who went to college campuses and spoke with young people, because the youth of our nation is the future of our nation, right? And with this moral compass talking point, right? There is a lot of people who have lost it, where you see the aftermath of Charlie Kirk going around to colleges, and there were men on the streets that were like, "What do you think about the assassination of Charlie Kirk?" And there's these young college kids that are smirking and they're going, "Good," like stuff like that. That's not even a radical like f him f you. That's just more like indifference. And we need to get
Yeah.
back to understanding that even people on the other side of us, they are still human, right? I don't want to see anything bad happen to AOC. I don't want to see
Mhm.
anything bad happen to, certain people that just disagree with me politically, no matter how far they disagree with me. So I think that I don't like to I don't like the talking point of tone down the rhetoric. Turn up the rhetoric, just turn it up in the right way.
Yeah. But I think that's also like I hope we continue to keep voices like Charlie Kirk where it is um someone who is still open, who is trying to have open dialogue with everyone. Because obviously, and I think again that speaks to what we know the left, is the fact that simply him trying to have conversations with people was so threatening to the left.
Because it was effective. That's why. It's
Yeah.
it's not that Charlie Kirk had conversations. It's not that Charlie Kirk spoke. It's that
Yeah.
people listened. And that's why that he was the biggest threat, was not because he spoke. A lot of people speak, right? But
Yeah.
not a lot of people have genuinely true um, an ability to bring people from the other side over to your side through just this, a respectful dialogue, which is what we are missing. And we talked yesterday about the difference between, like a debate me bro like Dave Smith, who's really more like putting on a show. Like you watch Pierce Morgan, these screaming matches.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
show. It's Jerry Springer. It's a show. It's entertainment. And hey, guilty pleasures, right? Sometimes they are
Yeah.
entertaining. Andrew Wilson. I always say, I like him, but he's a piece of shit, right? And it's like, these aren't debates, right? These are. It's like Howard. It's like watching Howard Stern, right? Watch Howard Stern for Howard Stern. At least know what it is while you're watching it. With Charlie
Yeah.
Kirk, you could tell that it was real debate. It was real respectful, honest conversation from both sides. Charlie didn't use trickery. He didn't use, like, start saying like, oh, logical fallacy and false equivalency. He just sat there and he listened and spoke, and it was kind of hard to argue with his logic. He was very skilled at what he did. But I think that that's how you get back the moral compass. And I think that, the next topic, let's put it up here, was the craving for belonging, right? And I think that it's interesting, because what I believe is going on is that there are these sort of mini cults being created, and everybody's sort of following the leader, and we have way too many leaders that are preaching the wrong message to their quote cult. I wish that people wouldn't even join these little cults, but social media has made it to a point where, think about what these people are called. They're literally called followers, right? They're the actual structure of social media inevitably will create many cults. Now, there's nothing we can do to change that. So what do we need to do? We need to create more quote cult leaders that are actually just trying to preach the right message. So I think I said this to you yesterday, but you see people like Tucker Carlson who are, platforming, not platforming. I don't care if you platform Nick Fuentes, right? But giving a soft, glossing interview for Nick Fuentes, trying to rebrand him on purpose, I believe, and make him seem like he's more moderate and more palatable. And I don't see the difference between that and the college professor who's teaching queer theory, right? Where it's like you're taking impressionable young minds of people that are looking for this sense of belonging, a community, your page, your followers. They are looking for a connection, and you're building that and growing that. And then you're taking a guy who said that Jews should be given the death penalty if a Christian nationalist was ever in the White House. Hitler's cool, all that other stuff. And, you can say that was just sensationalism. He's just doing it for clicks. It doesn't matter. I said this to Aaron Milan the other day, where I was like, does it really matter if Nick Fuentes is an actual Nazi if his followers believe what he's saying? Because you're still creating Nazis, right? It's like, even if he's just doing it for clicks, he has hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, right? So you got to be careful with the community that you're actually building. The sense of belonging is going to be there regardless. We're always going to have people that are broken and lonely and looking for something. I think the thing that they should turn to is God. I think the thing that they should turn to is their church. But but we live in 2025, and they're going to go online and they're going to find their own quote church. So we just need better pastors.
Yeah, and I think also with a lot of the extremism, it's taking advantage of others' vulnerability, and I think that's the difference within the conservative movement and within the movement that really Charlie created was that it wasn't taking advantage of people's vulnerability anymore. In fact, it was him trying to guide them in a direction of, true fulfillment where they're not just going to be going round and round in circles,
Yes.
trying to feel like temporarily comforted. So he was
Yeah.
actually working off of people's curiosity, the people who really wanted to know more.
Yes, and that's the thing. Charlie created a movement, not a cult. He created a community, not, some like clickbait sensationalist YouTube channel. And so, like the topic was the craving for belonging, and I think that that's always going to be there. So what you need to do is a you need to start following the right people. Like there's this guy on Instagram. I don't know if you've heard of him. I think it's the moderate case, and he
Yeah.
I said I go, you're the next Charlie Kirk, bud. Like and he said
Oh, I
that
think I saw this.
yeah,
Yeah.
I go, that's the way that he speaks. It's not Charlie. Nobody can ever replace Charlie.
Yeah.
But he's very intelligent, very methodical, and the way that he debates, he's respectful. And I think that you start elevating these people. You got to start really. Now I'm a call out creator, right? Said to my girlfriend, she goes, what separates you from the other people? I go, well, there's sheepdogs that protect the sheep, and then there's wolves that just fight the wolves because they like to fight. I'm the wolf, right? So I'm a call out creator. I don't, I will never become close to what Charlie Kirk was, but I have my own place. I'm the one that tells you, don't elevate me, elevate people like Charlie. It's way more important to be following the people that are getting into respectful dialogue than what I do, which is I'm just doing this because I don't know. I see something and I fight it. But then next up is the deeper question: what is society missing that drives individuals? Pull this up. What is missing that drives individuals to seek meaning in these extremes? And have we begun to numb the truth rather than confront the pain and pursue a genuine direction, which is pretty much where we were going? Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I think that again, it's the cycle because it started with this, we want f freedom, they called it, to get away from, traditional values, from the family, from any sense of like just really just taking any pain and making it your identity. And I think the more that we've done that, the more that we've gone away from the family and said, I can be independent, I can do everything by myself. And also, I identify with everything I'm feeling immediately. And we know that, like, what you feel is not always what you actually need. If someone feels like drinking like
Yeah.
a lot because they've had a really bad day, that doesn't mean that drinking a lot is what they need. But
Yes.
I think on the left especially, we've created this idea that no, everything you feel is your truth,
It's
and that's how
validate.
you
Yeah.
should live. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like the culture of validating insane people, right? Which is essentially what we're seeing with Candace Owens and with a lot of the conspiracy culture and all the stuff that we just talked about. It's pretty much like saying, "Oh yeah, you believe you're a girl? Go cut off your penis." Right? Like, you believe that a B cult killed Charlie Kirk? Me too. Right? It's like, no actual evidence or science or logic or reasoning, just emotion. Right? If it's just an emotional argument, I feel. Right? One of the things that Candace Owens is famous for saying, she even markets it. She makes cups and T-shirts. Says, we don't know, but we know we know. Right? It's like, well, if you don't know, then you don't fucking know.
Yeah.
That's how that works. It's not, you don't know. In fact, you're saying I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But they're validating that they don't actually have any evidence to back up anything they're saying, and they're saying it and believing it anyway. It's the same thing with the trans ideology movement,
Yeah.
and that's the
Yeah.
problem. The problem is we're seeing on the right, we're seeing this adopted mirror image of horseshoe theory, where Matt Walsh said there's no moral equivalency to the more than two genders argument. I go, absolutely there is. The Jews did 9/11. Free Palestine. Like there's plenty of moral equivalencies. It's like there's just
Yeah.
because there's a scientific biological way to prove your argument against the left doesn't mean there isn't a logical, rational, and reasonable argument to disprove some of the things that are happening on that are being said and parroted on the right. I actually just gave you an example. There's the people that don't believe Charlie Kirk was actually killed by Tyler Robinson because one of the theories was there was no exit wound. All right, I'm a hunter. I go hunting all the time. I have put a lot of rounds into living, breathing things. I have pulled a round out of the spine of a wild hog. Bullets can be stopped by bone. It's not impossible. So when you look at the coroner's, well, they didn't really release the coroner's report. When you look at the medical examiner's statement, and you know how firearms work, and you watch the video. I only watched it twice, and I'm never watching it again. But I say everybody should watch it once. That should be burned into your memory, so that we know that how serious it is. But when I watched the video as a hunter, I was like, yeah, that's definitely a 30-06 that went through his neck and killed him. And when I heard the examiner say it hit his spine, I go, yeah, a spine will stop a bullet. That's just normal like thinking. But the evidence that these people have is no exit wound, and I just told you that that's normal. But they create an entire conspiracy theory that goes weeks and months down the road, just based off of that one plausible fact.
Yeah, and just like I think the left provides a distraction from, things that we should actually be focusing on. I think the right is kind of doing that as well. The far right, when they start to go down this rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, is it's distracting from the main issue. The main issue is that we are dealing with a huge problem of just radicalism and extremism, and we need to address that, not things that just don't have any evidence to back them up.
Correct. Yeah, and we're doing great with segues because we're gonna now go into radicalism dominates the left today. While extremism exists on both the left and the right, it currently dominates the left, where it remains a minority within the conservative movement and among conservatives in power. Does Candace Owens represent the conservative movement? I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that she's being rejected. Well, she's not being rejected by. She's got now the number one podcast. Ironically, after Charlie Kirk died, and she went down this conspiracy rabbit hole. I think that a lot of people think that views means you're right, and that's not
Yeah,
true.
it does. Yeah.
The Jerry Springer Show was the number one show in the 90s. And I wouldn't say that that was educational. People like watching train wrecks, you know, and I think that I don't, I'm getting tired of speaking for people, especially crazy people, because, you know, you don't know why people say what they say and do what they do, and when there's more than one explanation. But let me give you the multiple explanations that it could be. That's a better way to go, because there's people that say she's being paid and funded by Qatar to push a demoralization campaign on the right. People say it's postpartum depression and she went crazy a while ago. People say that it's just for clicks. People say that she was in love with Charlie and she's jealous of Erica. People say this and that, and I go, you know who you sound like? Candace Owens, right? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's just like, you know, we're saying we're going to create a bunch of theories about why Candace Owens has her theories, and we're going to become
Yeah.
just like that. Here's what I would be very confident in saying based off of my research about Candace Owens and how much I've seen, and the fact that she used to be a leftist who was on a doxing website. And I think what she is an regardless of her motivation, I think she's an opportunist. And I think that she sees an opportunity with talking about Charlie Kirk and creating these conspiracy theories, regardless of the motivation. And I think that she's doing it because she feels a need to be validated. So that's what I would. And again, that's just a theory, but I'm not going to
Mhm.
dive deeper than that because I don't want to get into Candace territory.
Yeah. And I think that's what you said was completely true, where I also see that too, where it's like in the comments, there are also people who are starting to say things that, yeah, it sounds like the a very similar ideology where it's like, well, oh, you know what, I think Candace killed Charlie Kirk. And I'm like, well, you're taking the same approach as her in that sense. So,
I do troll
yeah,
people a bit. I'm such a good troll that I troll my own followers sometimes. So
yeah,
I trolled Megyn Kelly, where I took an out of context quote reply from Candace, where it says Erica Kirk knows everything, and I applied it. In response to Megyn Kelly talking about Ben Shapiro, even though it wasn't about Ben Shapiro, but it was more like I was making fun of Candace, where I'm
hmm,
like, you see, this is what they do. What they do is they just go, okay, let's not post the whole conversation. Let's isolate the conversation. Like taking Charlie Kirk out of context for his one conversation in a private group message between his friends where he was venting about Jewish donors pulling out their money and then trying to apply it to say that he was like abandoning the Israel cause. He just wrote a friggin' book about the Sabbath. All right, he's definitely
yeah,
not like. So I think that that's what you what you don't want to do. You want to make it known that you're a shit poster and a clapback creator, and have people have a reasonable understanding of who you are if you're gonna do stuff like that, because there's a big difference between me trolling every once in a while versus every day doing that, which is what she does.
yeah. And I think also similarly, you mentioned about how, you know, she has so many followers and people think if you have followers, you must be correct.
Yes.
Um, and I think a lot of people do fall into that. They do believe that because even when I was in high school, and I'm from the UK, so very left, and my high school is also very left. And when people found out about my conservative values, I remember, you know, one girl saying to me, like, I don't think it helps you that no one agrees with you. It probably means you're wrong. And I remember saying, how does that make any sense? Because apply that to anything in history that you're saying that if the majority of people believe it, then it must be true.
Yeah, so I do this with people who say the Jews are kicked out of 109 countries, so it must be their fault. I go, well, it must be black people's fault that they were
Yeah,
enslaved. It must be black people's fault that they were kicked out of restaurants during Jim Crow.
yeah,
That's the argument you're making, right?
yeah.
If a
It's the same
bunch
argument. Yeah.
if a culture degrades into dehumanizing or into some alternate reality of this mass psychosis, then the psychos are right because there's more of them. No, that's a silly argument. It's not true at all. You just have to be able to use critical thinking, deductive reasoning, and discernment for why certain things have happened. And once again, I can give you the logical and plausible explanation as to why Candace Owens has the number one podcast, Jerry Springer, right? It's a simple, people like watching things that are sensationalized. It's entertainment. It's a guilty pleasure. It's something that it's our human nature that we like watching. And you know what? Candace Owens, while she may have many followers who agree with her, I bet you a lot of the people that follow her are just there because they disagree with her. So there's that aspect of it as well. It doesn't followers don't equal fans or agreement, especially online in a world where everything can be sort of faked. I know that there are people like Nick Fuentes who use fake engagement, who use bots. There's no real way to tell who is or isn't. I think to sort of divert away from this conversation a little bit, I think that we do need to address social media and how it's run, because we are living in a fake reality online and then applying that fake reality to the real world. Like you said, like people are really believing that they have so many followers online, so they must be popular. And then they go out into the real world. They walk down the street, and nobody knows who the hell they are. There's a lot of people that know who Candace is, but there's people like Myron Gaines who think he's famous, and you're not. So I would say that there's a way to fix this, and I get pushback from a lot of people because they think it's like an anti-First Amendment thing, which it's not. I think that Congress can and should pass a law where you just have to be on social media with a real account and just verify that you're a real person. You don't have to post your real name, But let's say you have an account. Let's say you have to, the same way you create a Stripe account, you have to give them your ID. If you did that with social media, let's say somebody sends you a death threat, you file a police report, the police go to X and they say, hey, this is a credible death threat from this account. I want the person's name who said it. That solves so many problems, right? Because I'm not saying that you have to post your name. You can still post anonymously. You can still say whatever you want, but death threats and harassment and Candace Owens and alike, they have a cult following of people that do her bidding. That's why a lot of people are afraid to call her out, because just like the woke left have the cancel culture mob, the woke right has a cancel culture mob as well. And, like there are people that are afraid to post with their real identity because of so many people that post without their real identity, or that comment without their real identity, or threaten without their real identity. So just a little side note, I think that that's something that we should really tackle. Right now, I think we have a lot of other things we need to do in the immediate term, like the midterms and what have you, and taking care of this culture. But that's going to be a big conversation that does need to be had, because I don't see this getting better unless something drastically changes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that something that we're missing a lot is reflection, like people really just reflecting on um, what's leading them to true fulfillment and what's working. And I think that comes a lot of the time with conversations as well. So really, the more conversations, the more you start to debunk the lies, or at least to kind of make it less, you start to quiet the noise of the lies so
Okay.
that you can kind of see through that, I think.
Okay, we're going to get to this second portion on how to save the West, but I did want to go back. I should have probably opened with this, but I wanted to hear your story about, because you said you're from the UK, you're a conservative, right? And now you're in America. How did all of that?
Yes.
How did all that happen? And you're young. You're in college right now. So,
Yeah.
like, give us a little backstory. How old are you? How did you become a TPUSA president? How did all this happen? Give me your story.
Yeah. Well, I'm 18, so just started college really.
Good.
Um, so my family's all in the UK mostly, and I grew up in the UK. I think like my family definitely was conservative, and that was how I was raised with, values and a strong foundation, which I think was great. And again, I always say this, that I was blessed that when growing up, like when I was young, I definitely wasn't being taught what I think young people are being taught today. I started to see it as I got older, when I got to a point where I was already strong enough that I was able to kind of see through it. But when you're so young, it's just you're putting such a difficult task on such a young child. And so I didn't have really that when I was like 5, because it changed so drastically.
It did.
But I think I did see, especially, I mean, there were definitely things that started becoming, I saw a lot of these movements around COVID, because I remember being locked in my house and friends sending me things, and I was just kind of like, not into politics because I was really young, but I was like, I do want to know that this stuff is verified. I don't know if I believe all of this. Um, so I was a little like hesitant on that, and I was questioning why it was such a big thing suddenly, why there were all these movements and people posting the black square, and it started becoming again like that thing, or it was like a trend, and I was seeing through that, and I remember getting questioned by someone, why didn't you post a black square? And I was like, because I don't see how that's gonna help anyone.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so I saw a lot of that. And then being Jewish in London after October 7th was really where I think I started to feel like I need to understand politics more and get involved in it, because something is seriously wrong,
Hmm.
that we were literally just attacked and
Yeah.
people are already blaming us,
And you were
and
si- you were
how
you were
dangerous.
16. You were 16 at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when did you come to America, and how did that come about?
Well, I've always loved it here. I think that it's a lot safer for Jews as well, generally. So I saw after October 7th in the UK how dangerous it became. And there are definitely still issues here, but it's different. It's on a different scale. And
We'll talk about that. But I mean, did your family
yeah.
come here, or are you here with
No,
on a
so I'm
school?
here. So I have a lot of family, like extended family here, but I'm here for school. I wanted to go to college here, and so I applied to Elon, and that's really how I'm here. So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, that's a great story. I it's kind of weird how you, as an American, I didn't even know that they had conservatives in the UK anymore. Like there's
not
got
a
to be very
lot.
few of them. So
Yeah,
your parents did a good job, and it's not easy to be in that minority where it's like you're literally just it was very similar in America right around the 2016 election, because like if you wore a MAGA hat, like the whole country would ostracize you and chastise you. So now it's way different. Now people have sort of understood we're not going anywhere, and the silent majority is now the majority. But I can imagine how hard that is. But the UK, when when I look at the UK, I look at it as a cautionary tale, right? I look at
yeah,
it as what exactly do we have to do to fuck up America? Just lead by their example. And I think that
yeah,
a lot of Democrat politicians on the left are very similar to the politics of the UK. They want open borders. UK has open borders. They want social programs. UK has social programs. They want mass migration, and they want to let's say diversify their country. UK has diversified their country. And what is the result of all of those actions, right? You have the rape statistics are through the roof. You have the Muslim migration creating so much conflict. There's stabbings, and there's anti speech laws. So if a Muslim attacks you, but you go dirty Muslim, you go to jail longer than the Muslim, right? So
yeah,
I think that, and I really hope Charlie felt the same way. He said so as much, that he wants to see the UK go back to its glory. But as of right now, it's just a cautionary tale for America, in my opinion, where it's like we just look at what they did, don't do that. Do you
yeah.
agree?
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I say when people ask me when we start talking about borders. And I say, well, the UK has open borders. And I mean, it's it's just a disaster. I mean, the crime is so high. There's rape, and if you're a Christian, if you're a Jew, it's dangerous for you now. And the reality is it is a threat, a huge threat, Islam to the West. And I mean, I've seen it in the UK, and I think a lot of people are afraid to say that because they think that it's Islamophobic or something.
Yeah, well,
Um,
you know what I say about Islamophobia?
yeah,
It's an oxymoron, right? Because a
yeah,
phobia is an irrational fear, right?
I posted this the other day on my
It's
story. So
completely rational to be afraid of people that chant death to
yeah,
America. So, um, and
definitely.
it's also kind of it's I say this also, right? Which is kind of a contradiction, but it's not to be taken literally. Is we're not Islamophobic enough, Like, I mean, if you're gonna call it Islamophobia, then we're not that thing enough, because
Yeah,
what we have seen just in America, just this year, right? We saw a Muslim, just actually at a TPUSA event this week, a Muslim named Jihad, by the way. If you can't make this up, it's like a Babylon Bee article, attacking a Christian at a TPUSA event wearing one of the Charlie Kirk Freedom shirts. We also saw the in DC, the two Israeli ambassadors who were just engaged, and they were gunned down by a man, not a Muslim, but a man chanting "Free Palestine." We saw the Muslim man in Boulder, Colorado, that was throwing Molotov cocktails at Jews, saying we need to kill all the Jews. We saw in New Orleans a man with an ISIS flag strapped to the back of his truck running people over. That's this year. That's just this year alone, right? So no, we're not Islamophobic enough.
yeah,
We need to. When people tell you who they are and what their intentions are, believe them, and do whatever you can to make sure that they don't follow through with what they say they're going to do, which is they're
Yeah.
going to take over the West, just like they took over the UK. Muslims got into politics in the UK. They opened up many mosques. It's almost impossible to get rid of them at this point. It has now infiltrated their culture, and the ideology of Islam is about conquering. Right? That's why their symbol is the sword. It's not about Christianity, which is about tolerance and bringing people in and converting people through conviction. It's a different ideology. It is a political ideology, not a religion, and they are not playing around. So, again, I don't mean to shit talk your country, but it's a
No,
cautionary tale.
yeah, no, definitely. And people turn a blind eye to it. I think that's the biggest deal because again, they think this whole Islamophobia. I mean, I completely agree. I think that, obviously there's a difference. You can discriminate against people, so you could attack people and that would be wrong based on
Yes,
who they are. But the actual ideology, like Islam
yes,
itself, I don't think we should be afraid to say that
yeah,
it is a threat to the
and
West, and that's not Islamophobic.
if there's 2 billion Muslims and, like, 10% of them are radical, which I believe it's more. I would say it's more in the 20%, maybe 30%. But that means that there's billions of peaceful Muslims and billions of people who just practice Islam but aren't radical. So obviously, I'm talking about the majority of Muslims are not bad people. It's just mathematics and statistics. But that being said, if 2 billion Muslims are on the earth and 10% of them are radical, that's 200 million.
A lot, yeah, it's
That's
a
200
lot.
million Muslims. That's 200 million people. That's like three-quarters of the population of America that want to destroy America. That's a threat. That's a problem. So it's not about being Islamophobe. Well, yes, it is Islamophobe. It's not about being anti-Muslim, but it's about just recognizing reality and realizing what the problem is. And I think that a lot of I think that a lot of people have gotten into this mind virus, this Israel derangement syndrome, that Israel is an actual threat and the Jews are an actual threat. And I'm like, okay, let's go back to the numbers. 16 million, right? 16 million Jews. And let's say 30% of them were radicalized, right? We're dealing with a very small problem. And they're not, by the way, but
And they're not, yeah.
let's just say they were. Let's just say there were some radical Zionists, which I don't think is even a thing. Like, I don't see how these people are turning blinders on to the real problem, which is China, Islam, North Korea, Russia, the axis of evil, versus the one democracy in the Middle East in a country the size of New Jersey. It it,
Yeah.
it makes no sense to me, but it doesn't stop them from denying reality, which is, again, what Matt Walsh said. There is no moral equivalency to the two genders thing. Yes, there is. It's this. It's that the Jews are a problem, and it's gotta stop. It's gotta change. We have to do something, and I think these conversations are helping. All
Yeah.
right, let's move into that final section. We are at how to save the West. By the way, Mia's the one that put this together, guys. I didn't. She's great. It's a very, very bright 18-year-old for sure.
Thank
Um,
you.
how to save the West. The warning signs. I think we sort of just covered this. We might skip this one. The United Kingdom has already fallen into cultural decay. Rising hostility towards the Jews and Christians serves as serious warnings that what could happen next in America. I didn't even realize that was the first bullet point, but we just covered it.
I think also we spoke a bit about like assimilation was
Yes. Yeah,
a
let's go
similar
let's go
thing.
into that. Right. So assimilating to American culture, right?
Yeah.
I said this to you yesterday. I believe the biggest step, the number one thing you do, right, is you make it mandatory to speak English in America, right? And I know that sounds like that's the thing. Yes, because it's a forced assimilation. Like, the way I think it should work is similar to getting a driver's license, right? Where you take a driver's test. I think that we should test these people on their English, and we should do it every year, or one year after they become citizens, right? Like you can become a citizen and not speak English, but 365 days from now, you better be able to go through like a fifth grade like class spoken all in English and take a test and pass it. Take a civics test and pass it. You know, like a civics test in English after 1 year is not a crazy thing to ask of a person who wants to come and live in the greatest country in the world. And I think that that's probably what we should do, because what happens is people that migrated to the UK, they didn't change, they didn't assimilate to the UK culture. They brought their culture with them, right?
Yeah.
And like you call it a melting pot. It's not a melting pot at all, right? What it is it's a charcuterie board, right? Where it's not a pot where they're all melting and you got like this one flavor, because people say that diversity is strength. No, commonality is strength, and commonality is the American culture, right? And the UK culture, but when you bring in people and you don't, I would say, force them to assimilate to your culture, you don't have a melting pot. You have a charcuterie board where you have this over here and this over here and this over here, and people think that they can pick whatever they want. That's not a melting pot. That's not creating an American culture. It's creating a bunch of different cultures, and some of them don't go well together, right? Like Islam and Christianity do not go well together. You cannot have it. So I think that that's what we need to do, and you can offer your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a similar thing. I think a lot of people will say, no, 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 they're coming here, they want to contribute and they really care. And, of course, maybe there are definitely some individuals who want to contribute, but the majority that are coming to the UK are, first of all, coming with the mindset and intention of they do want to take over the West. That's what they're being told. It's come to the UK, you want to dominate. That constant, I mean, we hear it all the time. Um, and then there's also a lot of them are, I know a lot of people that are coming to the UK illegally, especially, are using disability to a disproportionate amount. Like we know that there are not that many disabled people in the UK,
Sure.
and it's being like overused, and so the economy's um, getting worse, and yeah, it's just all of it's a mess. And
Well, so I
yeah,
think that I'm trying to remember what I said yesterday because I was so insightful when we weren't live. But I said something along the lines of like how there's sort of like this trickle down effect for like if you wanted to create a thriving economy, you'd start with energy, right? And if you wanted to create a thriving country, you'd start with culture, with the American value system. I'm a constitutional conservative, right? Like I know that we have the two-party system over here, but I think that the politicians on the right are pretty much just as corrupt as the politicians on the left. They just have better ideas because their base forces them to have the base's ideas, right? So I think that what you do is you create a system where you got to define conservatism and
yeah,
you have to respect constitutionality. And if you do those two things, you create a thriving nation, right? It's just sort of cause and effect, right? So again, like with the assimilation, if we're talking about immigrants, but even for the people here, Americans, what does it mean to be an American?
yeah.
It means that you love this country. And when you love this country, you love it how it is, how it was created, everything about it. You don't look backwards and talk about how all the bad things about this country, the slavery and the history, because yes, bad things went on. But I think that we are far better than other nations. Like there are some tribes in Africa that are still living, in the with sticks and spears and everything like that. And we have, the greatest country in the world where we produce, innovation and technology and geniuses and people like Elon Musk. They can come here from Africa and they can create SpaceX and they can create electric vehicles and do really good for the world and employ, by the way, tens of thousands of people. So
Mhm.
I'm not saying shut the door and say you can't come here. I'm saying define what it means to be an American, right? And then tell the people that are going to come here, you better be that. And that's all. That's how you sort of fix that problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we got, I think, one or two more. One or two more. Your personal experience. I think we did cover, but let's. Education has become
Yeah,
one of the greatest threats to our society. Teachers are
has.
increasingly pushing ideology instead of truth, shaping young minds away from critical thinking and patriotism. Growing up in London, we did cover your growing up in London part, but expound on the teachers thing because as an 18-year-old student at an American university, I'd love to hear your take on how the American education system is shaping the minds of not only our natural born citizens, but people that come into this country from another
Yeah.
nation. Are they teaching you to be an American, or what are they teaching you?
No, so yeah, no, definitely not. I think the one thing the US has is a lot better than the UK in almost every way. But education, to me, it's the same thing in terms of like going to high school in the UK and what I was taught in terms of like patriotism, because it does get into politics, there's bias and they do talk about it. It's the same thing. It's not very different at all. So it's all, just focusing on how white supremacy and how there are a million genders. I mean, just the basic woke ideology is being taught, I think, in most education systems.
So, do you think that that's at Elon University is in North Carolina?
North Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got great professors and you've got a mix, but I think overall I do see how, I mean, the amount of times people have said to me, "Oh, you came from London. I don't know why anyone would come here." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "It's the other way around." And then
Yeah.
or they'll say, oh, it must be hard for you here. Or I had one guy say to me the other day, "You must have been like you're scared they're going to kick you out." And I'm like, "No, because I'm following the law. They're not going to kick me out."
Yeah.
And a lot of people, saying these things like the US is awful. Why would you be here? Oh my goodness, like it's terrible. And I'm like, I love this country. The amount of times I've had to turn around and be like, "No, guys, come on, love your country. It's a great country."
Yeah. Yeah.
As the British person, I seem ridiculous. A lot of people have told me that I'm the most patriotic in this school sometimes,
Well,
being British
I think it's
to,
again
yeah,
to go back to what we were saying. It's probably because you appreciate that we haven't
yeah,
devolved into what your nation has yet, and
yeah.
I think that what you're doing. How did you get involved in TPUSA? Like, so you came here, what is it, a year ago, and you on a student visa. You went into Elon University.
Yeah.
What were the next steps? Did you just see Charlie Kirk videos and you created a chapter, or how did that go?
Well, I've been following him for a while, so I've seen a lot of his stuff. I actually only came here like 4 months ago.
Okay,
So, yeah, so not that long
so
ago.
you're busy.
Um, yes, and everything started really fast. So, we actually started the chapter. I actually had like a TPUSA advisor in our region reach out to me because I had reached out to like North Carolina Republicans just saying I want to get involved, and I think somehow they got my Instagram and it was passed on. But anyway, this woman reached out to me, said like, "Do you want to create one? You need at least two conservative friends." And I had exactly two that I knew were conservative. So I was like, "Oh, do you want to do this?" And they were like, "Yeah." So yeah, I mean, we started the chapter, but it was literally the day before Charlie Kirk was assassinated that we had started planning it, and the day of that we were like signing, like really, getting into it. And so that day, I'm always saying I was probably talking about him more. Like I spoke about him a lot because I would always, tell my parents, "Oh, he spoke so well to this crazy lunatic that was screaming at him." But I think that day I was speaking about him the most because it was about, maybe we could get him on campus or how are we gonna, do this turning point thing and then suddenly like I put my phone down and then it was like getting blown up by
Mm.
people being like, "Have you seen the news?" And
Did you
yeah.
ever get to see him in person?
No, no.
No, that's where I got this shirt. I went to the TPUSA event in San Antonio. I saw him one time, and it was very amazing. How
Yeah.
he was able to articulate his views and then take questions. I was thinking about even getting in line, but then I was like, I saw the line, and it's all these young college
Yeah.
kids, and I looked at my buddy and I was like, should we? And he's like, nah, because you're gonna go up there and just say like, hey, I agree with you, like, and I think the way that he said, "Come to the front of the line if you disagree with me,"
Yeah.
is the right way to approach things, right? Where I see a lot of people on the right and in the Jewish community, by the way, who are, I would say, using the wrong message about platforming bad ideas and bad people. I don't think that's the right message. I heavily criticized the Tucker Carlson Fuentes interview, not because he was platformed, but because of how the interview was done. I think that you should platform. Like, I just saw Dave Smith was on trigonometry, but I saw the clips from that, and there's a lot of pushback. And I see that's exactly what Charlie would do. He would. I mean, now, not with Nick Fuentes. Charlie had a very open and public rule about not debating trolls, which is something I told you about earlier, where if it's a real debate, great. If it's a Piers Morgan show, that's not a debate. That's a show.
Yeah.
So, and I think that Charlie recognized that Nick Fuentes does not want to have a debate in good faith. He wants to get popular by turning this into Jerry Springer. And this is what Candace Owens is doing right now. Sensationalism sells, and there are grifters that are capitalizing off of said sensationalism. But no, I saw Charlie in person. Very tall guy. Jesus.
I heard that. I never,
He's six
I heard
five.
that a
He's
lot.
like, he just like, I was in the back of the room too, and when he came out, there were some speakers that were up before him where we couldn't see them because there was like people sitting in front of us. When he came out, he was like chest up. I was like, God damn. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah. So you let me see here, because I know that we have one more. How platforms such as social media need to be used by. Sorry, I think we'll skip that last one because we already covered it. So I think what we need to really do to answer this question, how to save the West, right, is define America or define the UK, define the West, define values and ideals of Western civilization, right? Because I mean, I entitled this "How to Save America" because I thought that that's what that prompt was. But I do like your prompt as well: how to save the West, how to save Western civilization, Western culture, right? Because what's happening is we are degrading into a society of victimhood identitarians who are blaming everybody else for their problems, and it creates a culture where we don't have any people that are actually looking for solutions. We just have people that are looking for handouts. So I think that in America, and you could do this in the UK too, you just need to start defining the West, defining your culture, and preserving it. Because the people that are anti-Western, right? The communists, the socialists, the authoritarians, the totalitarians, right? They're going to try to take what you have, right? So the only way they can do it is if you give it to them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
no, I think like it's important to focus though on now how to save America, but a huge thing is then looking at the rest of the West and how much has just completely fallen and how we really need to, I think, get on platforms where all the young people are looking, which is I think what we're doing. But what Charlie Kirk really did is he looked at it from like a perspective of, okay, where are the young people? They are looking online, so let's go online. They are on
Yes,
college campuses, so let's go to college campuses.
exactly
And no
correct.
matter where they shift, we need to be there ready to stand up for the truth.
You bring up a good point. I was having a trouble with this earlier, but it was my analogy for if you want to build a good economy, you start with energy. If you want to build a good country, you start with education. And like you said, Charlie went to where the children were, where the younger people were, where the future
Mhm.
leaders of this country are. And
Yeah.
like I said earlier, where I see you have these like influencers, let's call them. It's so funny, the language, by the way, right? It's literal,
Yes.
like the language of social media. I know I said this earlier, but you have literal things called followers, right? And you
Yeah.
have these things called influencers, right? And if you
Yes.
just look at those two words and put them together, it's the quote from Voltaire: "With great power comes great responsibility." It's not Spider-Man, by the way, but it's what you're doing is you have these people who build a platform, have millions of followers that they can influence. And if their
Yeah.
intentions are not pure, if they're not trying to influence them to love America, love the West, love Western civilization, then they are going to influence them in a different way. What are these people influencing them to do? They're creating victims, they're creating identitarians, they're creating nationalists, they're creating socialists, and so the new college professors, the new media, the new anything, the new leaders in the marketplace of ideas are on social media and in your universities teaching your classrooms. So that's
Yeah.
how you fix the problem. It needs to be a top down approach, or I'm sorry, a bottom up
Yeah.
approach. You need to start there. So how do we do it? It's a grind, man. We're gonna have to get loud, you know,
Yeah.
not violent, loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Um, and I think continuing to also, despite people, the disrespect coming from other people, to still maintain that respect, like how what Charlie had. I think we shouldn't lose that, despite we shouldn't get lost in the rage, and we shouldn't let um it affect our hearts and make us bitter. And
Yeah.
because I think that's something that makes the conservative movement such a great movement, is that we are rooted in truth, but we also have that humanity, that we're able to have conversations and see people as people. We don't go to the extreme of suddenly, no, they're not, they're like, they're Nazis. And so I think
Yeah.
maintaining that is really important, is that we don't throw around. I think a huge thing for me that I saw that really drove me to look into politics and everything more was the fact that there were words being thrown around like it meant nothing, and it was devaluing the actual meaning. Like when you call everyone a
Yeah.
racist,
Racist, misogynist,
what does
sexist. Yes.
racism actually mean? When you call everyone a sexist and then an actual sexist comes along, it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yes.
When you call Trump Hitler, then what does that even mean anymore? You've lost the
Well,
definitions.
not only when you call Trump Hitler and when you use these words, right? Not only are you trying to elevate Trump to a position of Hitler, but you're actually devaluing Hitler, right? And
Yeah.
you're making Hitler more like Trump, which he's not Hitler.
Yeah.
He's actually a really nice guy, really good patriot.
Yeah.
But so that and you know what? I just thought of this, but the left creating this image of of Trump being Hitler created an image of Hitler being Trump, and the reactionaries, right, who are call them the woke right, the reactionary right. If the left has created a world where Hitler is actually more like Trump, maybe that's why some of these reactionaries are praising Hitler, because
Yeah.
they do see the similarity. Now there's not many, right? But there is a nationalist similarity between Hitler and Trump. I mean, it's completely rooted in lies and propaganda, but Hitler claimed that what he wanted was to make a great Germany. He claimed what he wanted was to make Germany great again. And there are those similarities based in lie, but if you were to take them at face value, you could see a person like Nick Fuentes being a reactionary to the left, calling Trump Hitler, praising Hitler because he actually believes the left, right? And
Hmm.
that's a dangerous way to go about how you use your voice, right? And I'm a free speech absolutist. Use your voice, but we also have to understand that propaganda shouldn't be normalized, right? I'm not sure if it should be legal or illegal. I don't know about that. I'm anti-Semitism laws. I'm anti speech laws. I'm anti anything that erodes away at the First Amendment or the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
However, when you have to define stochastic terrorism and figure out how to fight it without eroding the First Amendment, because what is going on is it's a form of stochastic terrorism where the left would go, all right, we're going to call everybody a racist, right? Well, now when there's a real racist, right, nobody really believes that it's an actual racist, you know?
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, we have a spammer in the chat. Whatever, they can keep talking. We're gonna wrap up. I don't know how to use my I don't know how to use my the Rumble Studio for the moderator. Hold on, I think no, never mind. All right, spammer, you can keep spamming. Type away. Probably a bot.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, lost my train of thought. So you win this round, you son of a bitch. I lost my train of thought. But what I was saying is, with stochastic terrorism and with the way that people are weaponizing language and then running under the guise of protection of the First Amendment, like, oh, if anybody tries to silence me, it's a free speech violation. That's something that we do need to address and figure out. And I'm sure that we'll find a way. But as of right
Yeah.
now, it's becoming a big problem.
Yeah, and I think it's not about just shutting down free speech. What it really is about the influence that we're providing to this generation and to our society. So whether that's through social media, it's about the culture, and that comes from what we're seeing online, what we're seeing in real time. I think that's a huge thing. It's just, at least I always say, when someone's struggling, like, again, I think the left takes advantage of vulnerable people who need help. And I think that what we're doing a disservice to them, because as a society, what we should be doing is, when someone's in that much pain, they're going to look for anything that they can grasp onto to give them that temporary relief. So we should provide them with actual solutions instead of distractions. And I think it's just such an awful thing that people are doing. It's not rooted in kindness. That's just what they call it.
By the way, I figured out how to mute the spammer, so I win. Haha. No, you nailed it. It was a good summary. It's just, I think that there are some people who like try to use the First Amendment as a shield, and the First Amendment, it is meant to be a shield against the government, right? But what we're seeing now is we're seeing people use it to defame other people. We're seeing it to threaten other people, to harass other people. I mean, look at what we just saw. I mean, I don't know if you're watching the actual chat, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like 20 comments from this one person, and I hope you're okay with me using some foul language. I'm going to read some of their hateful
I
comments.
think yeah, I don't.
So who is this Zionist bitch? Remember when you beat up old people? We all saw you boxing. No one gives a fuck what you say. Stupid Zionist cunt. You know, we all know TPUSA was in. Here it is, right? Here it is.
Yeah.
We all know TPUSA was in on killing Charlie Kirk. Mossad too. What Candace does is creates this, right?
I think also what's important is, and I really want to address this, but like with conservatives, is working on your internal stability so these kind of things just don't get to you anymore. And I mean,
Sure.
every day that I see how absurd it is, the more I don't care. I
Yes.
don't care, if you want to call me whatever. But
Yeah,
I think that
I've
that's a
learned
huge
to I've
thing.
learned to use it, right? So like the reason why I'm reading these comments, I know that this person wants me to read their comments, right? But I'm reading
Yeah.
their comments in a form, I call it internet judo, right? Where
Yeah.
I use their own weight against them. So
Yeah.
if they throw an insult at me, like they smear me, they put like fake photos of me, I'll post them.
Yeah.
I'll post them.
Yeah.
And Dana Lash, I don't know if you know who that is. She is really good at this too. She will create content out of her haters and out of the people that are, harassing her and stuff like that. Whereas what you're saying, and you're absolutely right, is the reaction that they want is fear, because really, really this is all about control, right? It's a control thing. Cancel culture is control culture. They want to be able to get you,
Yes.
they want to be able to be the catalyst for the action that you do next, right? So
Yeah.
it's terrorism essentially. It's literally cyber terrorism, where they want
Yeah.
you, like when they dox you, they want you to make a post going, "Oh my God, they doxed me!" Like, "Oh my God,
Mhm.
now I'm gonna have to move. I'm gonna have to get this," and they get off on it. And
Yeah.
Candace Owens creates these types of people. I mean, these types of people probably would exist regardless, but she
Yeah.
emboldens them and she gets them riled up. I mean, if you look at some of these comments, APAC has a lot of influence. Charlie was a stochastic terrorist. Glad you learned that word. Propaganda has been normalized for 60 years. It's just ramblings of a crazy person on the internet. Oh, looks like we lost her. We'll get her back. We'll get her back. But yeah, there she is. Don't worry.
Hello? Hello?
1 second. Paste. I think you should be popping back on now. Are you there?
Hello?
Yep, you're back.
Okay, okay, good. Because I could see you and everything just fine, and then I realized you couldn't see me, and I was like, oh, I don't
I
know what
told
happened.
you. I told you if this happened live. Now that so guys, the new computer is fast as shit. All right, like so. Mia, I was using this old computer that I really only got for work, and it had I don't know if you're tech savvy, but it only had eight gigabytes of memory, and apparently that's not a lot. So we were having glitching issues. If I had a guest on, my I would be glitchy. There's been no glitching in this whole episode. So my followers were like, you got to get one with at least 16. So I went and got one with 24 to be safe. And the difference is it's great. The difference is great. So
Yeah,
if that had happened on my old computer, it probably would have taken like a few minutes to get you back on, but we popped you right
yeah,
back in. Anyway, we are going to wrap up though. But I just didn't want to wrap up with you glitching out.
yeah.
But
But
go ahead.
I do think that, sorry, I do think that it's about, like, again, this, the left, when they start just calling you names and labeling and just being aggressive. I do think it's about fear, but I think a huge thing about it as well is that they are threatened by a lot of conservatives' emotional stability. And I think that's what Charlie had that separated him so much from some other conservatives, that they do let it get to them, because he responded from this place of, either I want to genuinely change your mind, I think this is going to help you, or I can see that you are deeply troubled. So
Yeah.
it's not going to affect me at all. I can look at it from that external perspective. And I think that that's something we really need to be adopting, is ensuring that we have our internal stability, our emotional stability, so that we don't lower ourselves to that level of just responding from an emotional standpoint.
Yeah, Charlie was the happy warrior, right? And
Yeah.
when you look, I've had so many death threats. I've had somebody show up to my house. I've had to file police report, police report, police report because the left mostly back in the day. Now it's the right too, but these people really are. They don't have a good argument, so they have to resort to threats, harassment, name
Yeah.
calling, ad hominem, what have you, right? And if you react in a way where you sort of bring yourself down to their level, which is useful sometimes, but not all the time, um, you're giving them validation, right?
Hmm.
And Charlie never did that. Charlie never validated. Again, why he wouldn't debate Nick Fuentes. He's not going to validate somebody like that.
Yeah.
And we do need to do a better job of that because what we do see in the conservative community is people that take the wrong approach, right? Some people's approach is don't platform, silence them, get rid of them. Like, they're this whole Tucker Carlson thing is very eye opening, but I don't think a lot of people are taking a step back, calming down, and realizing that it's actually working. He's being rejected. He's being rejected, and you don't have to force that. You don't have to become the cancel culture mob against something that you view as a threat. Just allow it to fall under its own weight. And I think that
Yeah.
that's more of the approach that we should be taking. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Mia, tell everybody where to find you. Tell everybody what you want them to know, how they can get involved, anything. The floor is yours. Just tell everybody what you want them to know from this interview, a little summary, and then you can plug your social medias, whatever you want to do.
Thank you. Well, we have, so I'm just me at Mia Charbet on Instagram, and then we have TPUSA Elon. So that's the Turning Point USA at Elon. Instagram, since it's not officially connected with the school. It's more with the town of Elon, since we are official with Turning Point. And yeah, we're just, I think, trying to. There are definitely conservative voices on this campus that want to be heard. So we're trying to make sure that we have that community and to keep standing up and take action is like a big thing for us to honor Charlie Kirk, really.
Yeah, and Elon University is in North Carolina. So if there is anybody who goes to that university that's conservative, reach out. I forgot to plug your social medias in the show links. I'll try to post edit that. But yeah, reach out. Just go to Instagram, TPUSA Elon. Reach out to Mia, and you can join up and get involved. And if you're a younger person watching this, I hope I didn't swear too much, but if you're a younger person watching this and you want to start your own chapter, I know that TPUSA has been saying they have so many new applications. So get involved. Go to TPUSA. And just try to get involved because, to summarize this whole entire, hour or something long conversation, how to save the West really does start with you. What you're doing can and will save the West because, like I said earlier, it's really just about where do you start? And you start with the future of America, which is our younger generation. The future of the West is the younger generation. We talked about so many different things that you brought up. We talked about Islam. We talked about, open borders and blah, blah, blah. But really, it really does start with define America, define the West, and then preserve that. And I think we're going to be fine. And also, there's so many people that have this negative attitude towards it. I think we're going to be fine. I think we're going to be okay. We got Trump for 3 more years, and we'll see what he does. But one person can't really do this. It's going to be a team effort, and I think in the end, the good guys win. So we'll take whatever comes to it. But if you believe in God and you have faith, you're going to be fine regardless. This is just a temporary place that we're in. I wish we talked about that more, but are you Catholic or are you Christian? I mean,
I'm Jewish, but
oh, Jewish, that's right.
yeah, but also very
Whoa, we
yeah,
got
I think
hold on, we got a Jewish TPUSA president.
Jewish, British.
I thought that Charlie was gonna get rid of the Jews. It's such a
Yeah.
silly argument that Charlie was going to be turning on Israel and the Jews. It's like, oh, you got one text message with years of other stuff that debunk it. But
Yeah.
anyway,
But also, I think you can absolutely, have criticism and disagree with something without suddenly it going to the other extreme of, oh, he must hate them all. That doesn't,
no.
he definitely, I think he was the most supportive within our community. It was great to see. But yeah, I also think faith is a huge thing.
Yeah.
If you have faith, then that gives you the drive to seek the truth. And I
Ben
think it,
Shapiro says, you want to save America, go to church. And he says
yeah,
church. He doesn't say synagogue. And the reason he says that is because America is a Christian nation.
yeah,
And that's the best advice I can give you. I just started going back a couple of years ago, actually, right before October 7th. And my life is infinitely better. Not perfect. And I know that. That's actually the prayer that we say at the end of church is, Lord, I'm not perfect, but I believe in you. Save me,
yeah,
change me. I give you my life. That's the prayer. So
yeah.
this was such a great conversation, and I hope we do it again sometime. And good luck with everything. Let me know if you need anything from me. I'm at your disposal, and we'll help you out. I'll try to get you connected with people so you can have more conversations. You're a great interview. You're very smart and intelligent. So if the future of America in our college universities is anything like you, I think we will be fine.
Thank you. It
Alrighty.
was really nice to speak to you.
You too. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
You too. Bye.
All right, guys. That was Mia. That was a great interview. She's a very intelligent young woman, and I think we had a great conversation. Her bullet points are just phenomenal here. Let's go through them again. In case you joined late, you can maybe go back and rewatch this, but we talked about healing the culture and the left's contradictions, conspiracy theories on the right. Have we lost our moral compass? The craving for belonging, a deeper question, radicalism that dominates the left, how we're going to save it, recognize the warning signs, protect American values. Her personal experience, because she grew up in London, is using the UK and as a cautionary tale, and how platforms such as social media need to be, I would say, maybe changed. I mean, in my opinion, here's what I think. And I said this during the interview. And you guys can disagree with me all you want, but it's the only practical, pragmatic solution that I can really think of in the immediate term is I think you need to verify your identity on social media. I just do. I know that people get taken aback to that. Like, oh my God, no way. I need to be able to post anonymously. You can still post anonymously, but I think you need to give your identity to the social media company so that you only get one. You can maybe have 3 accounts. You can have a personal, a business, and a backup, but you can have 3 accounts, and then because think about it, okay? If one person, if they have me, my identity verified, right? And then I go and try to sign up for social media. If it says Zack Bonfilio has 200 accounts, like the guy, the dickhead who was just in here talking shit came under 3 different accounts in the past 5 minutes, right? Like 3 different accounts. They're able to just pop off, come back on a new account, pop off, come back on a new account, pop off, come back on a new account, because these fucking psychos have sock accounts, right? I don't think that that's free speech. I think that that's fabricated speech. I think that that's artificially inflated speech. I think that that's a way to control the conversation with a cheat code. I don't think that you should be able to do that. Also, and the big one is, if you have to give your identity to the social media platform, if you threaten people, if you harass people, if you break the law, right, then there could be a process, a legal process, where, let's say somebody messages me, and I know we love Hate Mail Thursdays, but Hate Mail Thursdays should not be a thing, right? Hate Mail Thursdays are proof that something is broken. And if I have, kill yourself, death threats, doxing, like, people dox me all the fucking time, dude. People are trying to make it easy for some psycho to find out where I live, and they're just praying and hoping that somebody does something and comes and kills me. And if you have your identity tied to your social media account, you can still post anonymously. But let's say I go to the police station and I say, this account right here, here is the evidence that they are breaking the law. And the police have probable cause, based off of the evidence, to reach out to X and say, hey, Zack Bonfilio just came out to San Antonio Police Department and showed us some really concerning stuff from an account on your platform named fucking, let me go back to the dickhead, MAGA 25252, right? This is a request for information regarding MAGA 252522, or whatever the fuck it is, right? The social media platform, under the obligation of the law, would go, yep, here's their name, right? Because the way they do it now is these people just use VPNs and sock account. They just make an account. There's no way to figure out who the fuck they are. That's why they do it. That's why they're so emboldened. They're so emboldened because they know they're going to get away with it. People think they're anonymous. If you take away the thought that when they say something, there is no action to come after them, even though sometimes, you can. I think that that's a better solution than nothing. And I don't think it's against the First Amendment, all right? Because it's not free speech. This is terrorism. We are breeding a culture of cyber terrorists. And we gotta do something about it, dude, because it's not sustainable. It's really not. Charlie Kirk is no longer here because of the language in America. That's really what it was, right? People convinced Tyler Robinson that Charlie Kirk was evil. Tyler Robinson had mental health issues. That's another problem in America, but it's one of many. The mental health crisis is crazy. But yeah, because Tyler Robinson was a mentally ill person who was convinced that Charlie Kirk was evil, he shot him. So who convinced Tyler Robinson that Charlie Kirk was evil? That's the problem. That's the question you need to answer if you want to fix this problem. And in this conversation, we figured out that the two main culprits are our college university professors and our social media influencers. Got to fix this. This is not sustainable. More people will die. We will degrade. Our society will degrade. We will become the UK. And she left the UK, came to America, and started praising this country because it's not them yet. And we can't let it become that. All right, boys and girls. Let's go and do the shout outs. All right, if you guys are still here, I did not cut the stream on X or YouTube. I decided it was a really good interview. I was thinking about it, but I wanted you guys to have it on all the platforms because Mia did a great job. So you guys got the full show. But the only names I will read at the end of any show are my Rumble audience. So if you want your name read out loud, you gotta go over to Rumble. Rumble.com/TMP Uncensored. Great interview, Zach. Perfect. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I thought it was great too. It just flowed. And I think that her little I think that this was very helpful. I should probably do this, when I do my shows. Maybe all of the shows will go great if I actually prepared for them. Okay. But yeah, we do the shout-outs at the end of every show. So here we go. We got Roman King. We got Georgia Mom 2015. Coffin McGroin. Crazy Moan McGroin. We got a couple of McGroins in here. We got that dumb cunt that was talking shit. Not going to read your name. Fuck you. Johnny Lockham is in here. We skipped. It's skipped. Johnny Lockham. There we go. Sorry, found my place. Oh, nope, I'm not reading you either. That's the second cunty profile from the cunt. Seven Legion Studios. That's the third crazy person fucking account. I hope you only have three. I hope I banned all three of your accounts. On the Edge, great interview. Thank you, On the Edge. Eden is in here. TPH14. And Celestial Heart. All right, boys and girls, it is Friday. It's Friday. It wasn't Fuck It Friday because we last minute threw an interview in, but I'm glad we did, and I will maybe see you on Monday for maybe Mondays. Right? Maybe Mondays would be Cyber Monday. So if we do a show on Monday, it's going to be social media only, no news. So if we do that, great. If not, whatever. The real reason why I don't like to do Mondays is usually because it's fucking Monday, right? But it all depends. I'll try. I'm gonna go hunting this weekend. I'm gonna try to get me another deer, and then it's church with the lady, and a nice relaxing Sunday. So maybe